Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from JennyCardDesigns. Thanks so much for stopping by to spend some time with me here today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting, tutorials, and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. In today's video, I'm going to be continuing with my inspiration as a guest designer for the Gina K Designs June 2020 release. In this video, I'm going to be sharing a couple of wreath projects, and I'm using the Nature's Silhouette stamp set along with some Gina K Designs premium dye inks in a variety of colors. I'm just showing you the gray inks, but I'm going to pull in a bunch more later on. So I'm going to start with my wreath builder template. This is the smallest template that Gina K Designs has available. I had lost my 4-inch template, so this is the next size down. Now, for those of you who don't have a Memory Misty and the Mega Wreath Builder, this is the purpose of this video today. I want to show you how to create a larger wreath using these products. So I'm going to start by cutting a piece of cardstock down to 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and I'm going to grab a little piece of washi tape. Now, the purpose of this washi tape is so that we can mark the corner of this cardstock. Throughout this process, we're going to make sure that the corner of this piece of cardstock is the corner that remains inside of the Wreath Builder template at all times. Because the rest of the cardstock is not going to fit, we're going to make sure that this corner stays in every time. So when we pick it up to move it, we'll make sure that that corner goes into the next little spot on the Wreath Builder template, and so on. And continuing throughout the process and turning and making sure that every time, all the way back to the beginning, that corner stays in. Okay, so I've got this branch stamp loaded up onto my cardstock. I shared a video yesterday showing you how to create a rainbow wreath, so today's a variation of that technique, and you'll find a link to that video on the top of the screen here. So I'm stamping with my first color. This is the soft stone ink, and I'm going to pick up my cardstock and I'm going to rotate it one turn to the right, and then I'm going to ink up my stamp again with the same ink and stamp that, and then continue throughout the process, turning 8 times to go all the way back to the beginning, keeping that corner piece of cardstock inside the Wreath Builder template. So what this does is it creates a wreath on a larger piece of cardstock, but it is focused in one side of the page. So it's focused to the top left on this panel. So you can cut it up and trim it and use it however you like. So I'm going to show you how to make a little bit of a larger one. In order to create a larger wreath, you have to angle the stamp a little bit differently. You have to play around with it to see what works for you. In order to create a larger circumference, we just have to angle the stamp a little bit more and put it closer to the edge of the cardstock. And I did the exact same thing, stamping and turning, and now here you'll see I've got a wider wreath filling up a larger portion of my cardstock. But again, it's focused in the top left-hand corner. So if you don't really like that technique, then I've got another technique to share with you, but these are great to create beautiful looking cards. So here I have a piece of cardstock loaded up in my Misty with no Wreath Builder template. Now what I'm going to do is put my little branch stamp, sort of figuring out my placement on my cardstock. I'm going to pin my cardstock down with my magnet, pick up the stamp with the door of the Misty, and then I'm going to ink with my soft stone ink, and then I'm going to rotate the cardstock. I'm going to turn it once, and then ink up my stamp, and stamp again, and I'm going to do this a total of 4 times. So I'm going to get sort of half of a wreath, not quite the full wreath, but half. And I didn't need a template to do this. I'm going to show you how to fill this wreath in so that you get a full wreath without any templates. So now for the 4th turn, we're going to stamp, doing the exact same thing, and then we have half of our wreath. So I'll clean off the stamp, and then I'm going to reposition it sort of in between the 2 stamped images. Sort of going on the same angle. I'm just eyeballing it here. It's not going to be perfect, but I like the way that it turns out. So I'm going to stamp this one with a darker color ink. I'm using Stormy Skies. So I'm going to ink that up and I'll stamp it, and then I'm going to rotate my cardstock 1 turn, ink up and stamp again, completing this pattern 4 times. And I think this is a beautiful look. I really, really love the way that this turned out. And we didn't need a template for this. Now we've created a beautiful full-size 5.5-inch wreath right in the center of this cardstock with this beautiful branch. And I think it's so pretty. So here's a close-up look at that wreath. Now, I decided to step this up a little bit. I wanted to add some rainbows into it. So I grabbed the little bird from the Nature's Silhouette stamp set, and I just kind of perched him on top of one of the leaf branches. And once I'm happy with that, I will get that picked up with the door of my MISTI, and then I'm going to choose 8 colors of Gina K Designs Premium Dye Inks. I have Lipstick, Tangerine Twist, Wild Dandelion, Lucky Clover, Blue Lagoon, Blue Denim, Wild Lilac, and Passionate Pink. And now what we're going to do is we're going to skip a color every time we stamp, because we're going to go back and put the colors in between. So I want everything to stay in rainbow order. So I'll show you what I mean. I'll stamp the first color and I'll get my birdie inked up, and I'll stamp, and then I'll pick up my cardstock and rotate 1 turn. Now the next color of ink in my rainbow, I'm going to skip that, and then I'm going to choose the Wild Dandelion, and then I'll stamp that. I'll rotate my cardstock 1 turn, and then I will choose another color ink. I'm going to skip a color and then choose the Blue Lagoon, and then rotate my cardstock, skip a color, and stamp with Wild Lilac. And that completes our first rotation. So I'll get my bird cleaned off, and I'm going to reposition him, sort of eyeballing him in the center between the other 2 birds. So once I think I've got it kind of in the center, then I'll pick the stamp up with the door of my MISTI. I'm going to ink up the stamp with the colors that I skipped. So I'll start with Blue Denim, and then I'll rotate my cardstock, and then I'm going to stamp with Lucky Clover, rotate my cardstock again, and stamp with Tangerine Twist, and then rotate my cardstock 1 more time, and I'm going to stamp with Passionate Pink. And I think this is a gorgeous looking rainbow. It's so pretty, but I didn't like the red that I used. I didn't think it was bold enough, so I'm going to swap that out for some red velvet. So I'm just going to grab my little bird, and I'm going to put him back over top of the stamped image, get him picked up with the door of the MISTI, and ink with red velvet ink. I think that really brings that red right out of my rainbow. I think it looks good. So I'm really happy with the way this is looking so far. So we have that subtle gray wreath in the background with our rainbow of birds perched on our branches. And then I'm going to grab a sentiment from the Graceful Greenery stamp set. This is a beautiful hand-lettered sentiment by Hannah Drapinski. It's so pretty. It says, "May you find comfort in this difficult time." So I really like that. And then I stamped some of the flowers from the same Graceful Greenery set. I stamped a few of the little flowers and a bud and some leaves, and then I just colored it with some alcohol markers. And in hindsight, if I had done this card over again, I wouldn't have added those flowers. I would have left it with my wreath, the rainbow birds, and the sentiment. I really wasn't happy with those flowers on top, but I thought, nah, you know, it's not terrible, but we'll just leave it. Next time I won't stamp the flowers in the center. This is a cardstock from Gina K Designs called Stormy Skies, and it's a perfect coordinating color to the Stormy Skies ink. So I'm going to cut a card base out of that, and I'm going to cut my cardstock to 5.5 inches, and then I'll score that in half at 5.5. And then I'm going to grab my stamped panel. I'm going to cut a little bit around the edge of it so that this can layer on my card panel nicely. And then I'm going to grab some scraps that I have, my tester piece that I had earlier, and I showed you how to use the wreath builder. I'm going to grab that scrap, and then I have a little bit of other scraps laying around on my desk. I'm just going to adhere them behind my panel to create some even raised dimension, and then it gets rid of my scraps and I don't hoard them. So this is an amazing Jennifer McGuire tip. Thank you, Jennifer McGuire. I will use this forever. So I'm going to adhere this panel to my card base, and then that's it. I think that's it for this card. I'm not going to embellish it with any sparkly things, even though I wanted to. I did want to put a little sparkly gem in my wreath, but I just left it alone. So here is a close-up look at that beautiful rainbow wreath card project. And again, as I said, I probably wouldn't stamp those flowers in the center next time. I think it would look just fine without them. Okay, so that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate all of the support, as always. Coming up on screen are a few videos I think you may enjoy, including a playlist for the Gina K Designs June 2020 release. I have a ton of inspiration to share with you for all of the stamp sets from this release, and there's more coming all the way up until the end of the month. So thanks again for being here. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!